Are you ready? The Cornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Cornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. We have our stories of hope, and our first guest is Sally Ann Martinez. With over 4 decades of dedicated practice, Sally brings a wealth of experience to the field of holistic healing as a mindfulness and gratitude expert, guardian angel communicator, clairvoyant, psychic medium, seasoned Reiki master, and intuitive life coach. She has guided countless individuals on transformative journeys towards self-discovery and well-being, offering intuitive angel readings and Reiki energy healing for inside support along the way. Additionally, she specializes in home business energy clearing to create a balanced, revitalized spaces that foster focus, calm, and even appeal to potential buyers. She's also an inspirational speaker and workshop facilitator and available for various settings, including private parties. Her published works include Empowerment Through Gratitude, Journal, Vision Board Manifestation, In 5 Steps, Empowerment Angel Cards, and a contribution to cracking the rich code. Welcome to the show today, Sally Ann Martinez.
Hey, thank you, Cornelia. Appreciate that.
Good. It's nice to have you. So we were talking before we came live, and you were highlighting that you used to be in corporate and then you got the call.
Yeah. I was in the corporate world, New York City, for over 20 years and did big events, loved what I did, who I did it for. My team really was super blessed to be in that fabulous environment. I basically got to do whatever I want as long as I was on strategy. And so I loved what I was doing, but I felt that something was going to change. I felt this shift, and I thought, as I think a lot of us in the corporate world, we think, okay, maybe it's just time to look for a new job, because I had been there. So I had been there for almost 10 years. And when I first got hired, I remember telling my executive vice president, yeah, I'll do this till it's not fun anymore. And I called her up one day and I said, I think we need an exit strategy. This isn't fun anymore. And she said, what does that mean? I was like, I think it's time. I think I've, had this great run. We've been super successful, taught a lot of people a lot of things, but I think I need something else. And so I started to look for a job, like a traditional job. And, we planned my exit, and exit time came, and all of a sudden I don't have a job. And everybody's like, wait, you're the most employable person I know. And because of all my philanthropic work, I was very connected. I was on television a lot. I was very connected to, Phoenix, Arizona, where I was working. And I was like, what's going on? I don't understand what's going on. And so ironically, a friend of mine said, my feet are killing me. I've plantar fasciitis. Can you come do some Reiki on me? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm not working. Yes, I can do that. And she said, tell me what's going on. How's the job hunt? What are you doing? And I was very thoughtful. And so I really want to encourage people to do this, because it really was my boing, my light went off for me. But I started looking at all the things that I had accomplished in my career, and so proud of them, and so many wonderful opportunities in New York City and here. And I was like, well, I don't know why I'm not getting a job. And I'm kind of, she's like, well, tell me what's going on. I'm like, how do you not get an interview for a government job and you know the mayor? Like, you're good friends with the mayor. How does that happen? How can you not get a job interview for a production job and you know the vice president of sales? Like, Cornelia was the strangest thing. It was all these things. And I started counting. And I'm going through and I got to 13. And then I just started laughing. And my girlfriend looked at me because she was like, are you hysterical? Like, are you going crazy? And I was like, no, it's 13. Of course it's 13. It's time for my awakening. So backstory is I was married on a 13. I did not want to get married on a Saturday, but it was the only day within like this window, these 2 months, that I could get married because my best man was coming from Germany. So I got married on a 13. My son was born 2 weeks early on a 13. My daughter was born 2 days early on a 13.
Wow.
None of these were really planned days, right? So 13 is kind of like our family number. So then when I'm going through all these job opportunities that are strangely available but not available, like didn't understand, I call it angel whispers now, by the way. I started to laugh and I said, okay, I get it. Okay, what am I doing? And my girlfriend said to me, well, it's because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, 30 years ago, I had my own business. It was a small business. I still had a corporate job. I did 2 things because, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, woo, you can do anything. You have boundless energy. And so this was about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. And she was like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Do this. And I thought, okay. So I started a Facebook account. And my girlfriend, the one I was healing, she's like, we're going to work on your personal branding. I'm like, what does that mean? She was a professional photographer. She's like, come in, we're doing headshots. I'm like, okay. So she started me off and I went to order business cards. And I realized the day I went to order my new Heaven's Light Wellness business cards, it had been 1 year to the day that I created them. I'm like, okay. And my husband's an accountant, right? My husband is like a computer guy, a numbers man. And I'm so I was an event manager. I was a marketing director. I was a vice president of, collateral. So I think in color in a different way. And he's like, you should do this. I'm like, really? So I've known this man for 36 years and I've never given him an angel reading because it scares him. And I'm like, that's okay. It's not for everybody. He totally believes, he understands, he asks, but he doesn't want like a personal reading. And I get that, right? And so the business just kind of started, is what I would say. I just took the leap. I had faith that this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I talked to my college girls. There's 9 of us that were still friends from college. And I called them and I was like, okay, girls, am I crazy? Like, should I be doing this? And one of them specifically said, it's about time. And I was like, what? And she goes, it's about time. The world is tired of waiting for you. It's about time. You need to do this. You should have done this 10 years ago. But there were things, right, that get in our way as humans, as adults. Like, I live in a smaller town of Phoenix that's now exploded. But at the time, I had little kids and people, sometimes people are judgmental. And I didn't want that to affect my children. So I didn't want to do this type of work solely. There's always a reason. So all of a sudden, God made sure I didn't have a reason anymore, right? Like 13 opportunities, had my aha moment, and then just started working. Got this beautiful little space. I have wonderful support team. So that's another great thing. Like, when the shift happens for yourself, it's to have the faith to understand that it's okay to step through the door. And I remember that a friend called me and he said, look, I have an office in my building. I really want you in there. I love you. I trust you. I, think wonderful things about you. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, do I want to do this? Like it makes it real.
Yeah.
Duh. Of course I want to, right?
Yeah.
So it's the things that come into our life too that we have to be willing to walk through the door is what I say. Like, okay, the door's open. Am I going to walk through that door? Am I going to become professional? So I'm not just doing it on the phone. And I have to tell you what a blessing in my life. I mean, within the first month, I remember I actually was sitting on the couch and I sat down on my couch in my living room and I was like, it's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. Like, I think I sat on my couch like once out of the whole week because I was working 60 hours a week and being a mom and being a wife. And I was shocked. I was like, I'm sitting here on the couch like this is unheard of. And my husband said, by the way, just so you know, you just made more money this month than you did working 60 or 80 hours a week for the corporation. And gosh knows it's not about money. Money's just an energy exchange, right? It's not about money. But it was a way for God, source, universe, whatever your language is, to prove to my husband this is what I was supposed to do, and to prove to me that this is what I was supposed to do, and I had his support, right? Because I'm good at what I do. But you need the aha moments to prove it to you, and they'll show you in strange ways. So really,
I want to be able to tell the audience before, it's amazing the story that you've lived in going from one transition to the next. And now you are offering readings and you're offering support to so many others. I want to be able to let the audience know what your social media handles are, so people that are listening to you, that they can find you. So give us your social media handles and your website.
So easy. Every single thing is Heaven's Light Wellness, because that's where all the messages come from. Your guardians, Heaven's Light Wellness, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, we're all there. You can find everything that I can do to help you live your best life, all on Heaven's Light Wellness, and also get free angel card readings and free content that we put out there every week. So this way we can help heal the world if that's what they need.
So beautiful. You are on the Cornelia Stephanie show, which is heaven on earth. That's what we're teaching and talking about here. So it's a wonderful, again, match that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's great. Thank you, Sally Ann, for coming on. I appreciate you sharing your gifts with us and telling your story. Thank you so much. We're going to take a break on the Cornelia Stephanie show. We'll be right back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. It's Cornelia Stephanie here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. Our next guest on Stories of Hope is Sarah McDavis. She likes to do a lot of different things. Sometimes that causes problems, but usually it keeps her in the right amount of busy. Sarah is a children's author, illustrator, digital presence educator, book coach, kids yoga instructor, and founder of Wonder Creek Media and the Start Effect in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Wonder Creek Media is a children's media company that creates entertaining and informative books, mini character designs, and more. The first book for kids 7 through 10, Octo, Pi, and the Missing Egg, is out now, and the second is scheduled for summer 2025. Welcome to the show today, Sarah McDavis.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I like the name of your company, Wonder Creek.
Thank you. Yeah, my kids actually helped me come up with it. We kind of brainstormed a lot of different things and threw out different ideas. And we ended up putting together a couple of different people's thoughts. And yeah, so it was a whole family activity.
That's wonderful that you, that you included everyone, and Wonder Creek. I think that's a beautiful, it sounds magical.
Oh, thank you. I think it's pretty fun. It's a great place for me to hang out. So
yeah, and it sounds like fun is your message.
Yes. Yeah. Fun, creativity, curiosity. It's something that kids are innately good at if we let them have the space to do that. But we as adults, as we get older, we tend to lose that element, not only of creativity, but the idea that we can play, and we can play just to have fun, just because we like it, just because we want to do it. And I think that's something that all of the responsibilities and the to-do lists, and I like to call my space a no shoulding zone, because should has this like kind of overarching feeling of being a burden or being fortified in guilt and shame. And if we should do something, that feels really heavy. But if we change it to we could do this, I could do this, I could do that, make it a game, right? Just bring in play to everything. And it just makes everything a little bit lighter, and we can have a little fun while we do it.
Yeah. So like right now, this is a really big time for us, for a lot of people. How do we, right, bring in play in our everyday life? I mean, what are some of the steps that we can take?
Yeah. So one thing that can be really hard, because sometimes, especially when we're feeling stressed and we're feeling like really tight and things feel super serious, we end up with this in our hand and we're just scrolling, right? And we do it as adults, and we see our kids and our teens doing it. And so the number one thing that I tell all people, myself, my family, put it down, put it in a box, put it in a drawer, put it so you can't see it and even just if that feels like a lot, set yourself a 5-minute timer and see what happens. Like, give yourself space to just be in a space, to just sit and pick one or two things in the room. So something I like to do, especially when I'm coming up with ideas for my stories, is if I'm having one of those like writer's block moments, I will like to sit and pick a couple of things in a room and say, okay, how do those things go together in a way that makes no sense whatsoever? So if it's like a light and a book and the carpet, well, maybe that's a magic carpet. Maybe that's a talking light. Anything that's fantastical and makes absolutely no sense. That kind of play it does take practice. I will say it does take practice. The first time you do it, you might just be like, I don't know, it's a carpet and a light, like, and it can be hard to jump into, especially when we've had all of this time in our lives that we've grown out of it. But getting into that space and taking just a little bit of time to think about things a little bit differently can help with problem solving. It'll boost your creativity. It's going to help you reduce stress. All those kinds of good benefits that we love to have.
Is this the way that you live your life? Have you always been like this, or was this like an epiphany type of thing?
So I've always liked to play. I've always liked to create stories and make up things, and kind of live in a fantasy world. Sometimes from even when I was very small, I loved creating stories where the animals talked to me and told me all the things. So now that's what I get to do, which is a delight. But it's definitely blossomed for me in the last couple of years. Just in listening to podcasts and reading books and things, and being in different groups of people that are helping me to kind of break free of that kind of overarching thought pattern that we have to stay in line and do these things. So I was actually in a group of entrepreneurial women, all moms, all homeschooling moms, and we were just chatting around about how we were all people pleasers and we had to do things for other people and everybody else came first. And one of the women in the group, Beth, had a mic drop moment. She just stopped, stared at all of us in the Zoom room and said, wait, what if we were the people we were pleasing? And we were all like, that's an option? I'm sorry. Right. And that that one line, actually, I keep coming back and back to it because that was the one that like told me to remember who I was and to come back to say, no, you do like to play. You do like to jump into things. You like to make stuff up. It's fun. You like to have fun, and having fun is okay. And so that's kind of been that was a big turning point for me.
Yeah, it's almost like you gave yourself permission, that flipped on a switch of some sort, and you gave yourself permission to really be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To really be yourself.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
By us being ourselves, when we are really fully ourselves, doing what it is that we naturally like to do,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of our nature. That's why I asked you, are you always like this? Were you always like this? Or is this, an epiphany? Because I think, doing what you're doing on a daily basis, bringing fun into it, bringing curiosity and play into your daily life, and then being that and modeling that, it's just returning back to our innocence, and where, really fun things and good things can happen simply because life's hard. It's been
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. 1,000%. And we have to be mindful, which is also hard. I know that's hard, that we are making a choice to sit in that hard space and either find the path that's going to lead us somewhere that's going to help us help others, or kind of sit and stew in a space, which I've been there too, and have stewed and stewed and stewed, and being able to climb out of that and change and find all this joy just makes going through those hard things a little bit easier.
That's amazing. Find all this joy. That's great. Absolutely. Now, what are you doing nowadays? So I know that you are doing, you've got a book coming out. What are you doing now where people can join you or follow you on your social media? What are you doing?
Yeah. So I, right now, I'm really trying to get out and meet more kids and have fun and do all that kind of stuff. So I have one book out now, and my next one's coming out in May. But I have a free educator guide on my website, sarahmcdavis.com/free educator guide, I think, or just educator guide. And it's not just for educators. It's for anyone that has kids in their life. There are fun activities in there to do. You can sit down and make a map together. It's one of my favorite things to do with my kids, is put down a bunch of rice and then draw out the outline and make a whole new world together, which is a delight. And so there's a lot of fun things that you can do in your home. You can do with one kid, you can do with a group of kids, and kids innately want to play. So if you're having fun, they're going to have fun.
Yeah, I love that. Can you give us those social media handles again?
Yes, on Instagram, you can find me at Sarah McMarvelous. That's the best place to find me.
Sarah McMarvelous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful.
Awesome.
It is. So you're also doing kid yoga, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do it at school visits I go to. I'm doing a couple of other things in the Pittsburgh community. I also do monthly yoga classes at a bookstore, which is one of my favorite places to be. So that's a lot of fun. And kids yoga is very different from adult yoga. I take adult yoga myself, which is a very nice space for me. But kids, it's a lot of up and down, because at the end you want them to be a little bit tired, or they will not sit still for the 2 or 3 minutes we want them to reflect a little.
Yeah, good. Well, this all sounds fun. I think, that just sounds so great. While you were talking about all your homeschooling moms that were with you, I was just thinking how much the world has changed in like this last 12 years, for instance, because
Mm-hmm.
now homeschooling has become normal to
Yeah.
where 12 years ago, that was not the case. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to see, where we're going even now in 12 years from now. But what if we can bring more play back into our daily lives? So
Yes.
wonderful,
All for
wonderful
it.
message. Awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Yes. We're going to take a break on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning into the Cornelia Stephanie Show. Our next guest today is Whitney Irwin. She's an international holistic health practitioner, a clinical herbalist, and an Ayurvedic strategist, avid yogi, world traveler, free spirit, and nature lover. Whitney is the owner of Four Seasons Harmony Holistic Health, Healing, and Ayurveda, a woman's healthcare practice that she founded back in 2015. She loves to apply holistic health and natural medicines to help women with chronic hormonal imbalances to reduce pain, restore balance and vibrant energy, and live a long, healthy life. Her healing practice is trauma-informed and compassionate, which has been supported by over 20 years of yoga studies and advanced certifications, as well as 5 years of professional collaboration with the EMU Strategies for Trauma Awareness and Resilience STAR program. Welcome to the show today, Sarah.
Oh, thank you so much.
I apologize. Welcome to the show today, Whitney. Sarah was our previous guest. I apologize. Welcome to the show, Whitney.
Okay, it was such a pleasure to be with you, Cornelia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. So, you've got quite the healing practice. You've got quite the work that you're doing today. Working with people that have, chronic pain or even trauma. Was that the direction that you've always felt called to go in, or how did you get started with this work?
Yeah, to some degree, I felt like I was called from a very young age, even like in elementary school. I remember doing conflict mediation, and I continued activities and involvements like that all throughout growing up. And it was just kind of on the side or for volunteer work or the space I would offer for friends. But I didn't really see myself doing that for my full-time work. I had visions of like running an orphanage and doing like humanitarian service. But specifically what got me to today was just a very long, windy path and many uncharted experiences that I never in a million years would have dreamed happen. But there's so many gems along the way that, looking back, I like wouldn't have it any other way because it brought me to this very fulfilling place today.
Yes. And so you were also talking about before we came live that you had prior hit this kind of bottomless road where you were at and hitting the bottom of where you were going. And then that also guided you more into the path that you are on now.
Yes, that's right. So 2014, I remember it was this major turning point in my life. And I felt like I had been on a health conscious, spiritual path for a very long time at that point. And I just felt like I just like completely bottomed out. And I found Ayurvedic medicine at that time through my love of yoga. And I was just knee deep in immersing myself in studies and doing a lot of inner growth and change, which helped me get my life back. It was absolutely transformational. But throughout that journey, I just felt like I lost everything. And at that time, it felt very scary and overwhelming. And I was like, what purpose is there now for me to devote my time and energy to? And I remember through that experience, feeling like, well, I'm still here. There's still light inside of me, and that the universe still was taking care of me. That was such a critical lesson for me. And it helped me embody new non-negotiables in my life regarding my health and healing. And today, people often have no idea that I've been through that. And, I feel like I'm living a very healthy and vibrant life, and I'm serving women full-time in my practice. But I see so many women that may feel so alone that may not know like the depths of what other people have gone through. So I just wanted to share how actually like that was very helpful for me, even though it was incredibly difficult to go through.
Yeah, so it sounds like, where you're at now, it shows you the resilience of how far you've come and how resilient you are. And also that, because you said you had been practicing, spiritual, you had your rituals and, your spiritual life, and that was prior to the Ayurveda. And that then when you started going into those studies, it seemed like that's when everything started clicking into place. but throughout all of that, you really had to trust in that depth and that you were being taken care of.
Exactly. Yeah. And I hadn't done it in that way before, not that fully and completely. And I thought that I had. And then it was just like this new level of energy about me. And even though things still took time to build up, from the
Yeah.
ground up, it took time and intentionality. But I just felt like that was a reason that I became successful later on. And not to sugarcoat that at all, but it was very, very beneficial in the long term.
I'm thinking of when we're talking about the depth and the bottom falling out, I'm thinking of Pluto, in astrology, and it's going deep and, putting roots there in your foundation of the depth of what you want to build upon at Pluto and Capricorn journey that we've been on. And so I just, I think it's wonderful that you've experienced, because it wasn't easy, like you said. It wasn't something that was easy to do, and most people didn't even really know that that's what you were experiencing, but you were really going deep.
Yes. And, I had a graduate degree at that point. I was thinking I would have a career that was like a very stable life for many years to come. And ultimately, realizing that that was not my path at the time. I remember creating a vision board, and I just put kind of everything I was imagining, but it hadn't come into reality yet. None of it was manifested. And then like a year later, like that became the platform for me creating an innovative and original healthcare practice. Like I went back to that over and over again. And then it was like all of those things then played out later, just from that place of like complete allowing and emptiness.
That's awesome. I love that. I love hearing that. Yeah, when we can just be with what is and allow the universe to support us and the next steps to be revealed, even if it's just one next step.
Mhm.
Um, because it's in that emptiness, right? It's in that empty space where new growth can happen, new gifts can be revealed.
Yes. And I feel like looking back, it was a feminine energy as well. And it helped me get more familiar with relaxing into that, because that's something that helps me stay in balance, so dramatically today. And I didn't see as many models like allowing more feminine energy in. And that helped me feel like there's nothing to fear there. It's okay. And there's still love and connection and support, like no matter what shows up on our process.
Yeah, it's so important, that feminine energy that we have to, she is magnetic and she's receptive and she's receiving. It's not just all about the doing and the ambition and whatever, the masculine energy in us, right, has been, going forth to do, but also that the feminine is allowed space and actually even to lead.
Yes. And a total jet setter. Like nobody in my family had started a business. My grandfather was very successful working in economics and was like a dean of a school of business, but just no modeling at all. And so it was so much of me going out on my own, which I think sometimes is that like Pluto energy. And I just felt like this leaning into that feminine energy on all levels held me so much. And I realized that that's an exquisite place to direct my life in a way that feels truly fulfilling, and not so much for external motivation, but more so for like internal intrinsic motivation.
Because really, that's where everything is born from. If we can really relax and allow from that place, it's not an easy place to get to, but once we get to it, from that place, we can find our stability in there, inside. It's a very interesting place to be because, like you said, that's not how we were raised and conditioned or where we were from, right? It's deeper. And I think, us allowing that feminine energy in all of us to uh take leadership, have space. And a lot of times when we don't know the next steps is to just still be in allowing.
Yes, definitely. And I go back to that time, and I just had a reflection earlier this week. I was like, oh, there's like a wave coming up. And I was like, but remember what you went through, and like you'll be okay. So it's been such a powerful experience to reflect on whenever I need that wisdom, because there's still challenging moments and there's unpredictable things that life throws our way. And for me, that's happened so many times since then. It wasn't like, oh, suddenly like life was a magical roller coaster.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Like I was like, oh, I can go into that inner grit, and like I know that I can get through genuinely. And there's a real peace there. I feel like I can access much more easily now.
Yeah. So what are you sensing? You said there's a wave coming. Do you feel this is a collective wave or is it personal?
Oh, oh, both. So, yeah, certainly we've had so many different, I think, auspicious collective events happening, and I feel like sometimes I'm in this story of like I'm just completely isolated from what's going on in the collective. I'm like, it just feels like this is just my personal story, and then I start talking to a lot of other people, and I'm like, wow. A lot of other people are feeling it too. And so I feel like we're so interconnected, and I'm definitely feeling a wave now.
Okay. Yeah, definitely feeling the change. That's for sure. Well, are you working with people one-on-one? How do people find you? Give us your social media handles.
Yes, I specialize in one-on-one women's health work. And on Instagram, I'm Whitney underscore Four Seasons Harmony. Feel free to interact with me there anytime. And I love to help women with chronic hormonal imbalances, embody and restore more vibrant energy, feel better in their body, mind, and spirit, and live a long, healthy life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I also love, where you're at in and even what you're calling your business, the Four Seasons. It's beautiful because it reminds us of nature as well, doesn't it? And that's where, a lot of our healing takes place in nature, with nature.
It's so true. Yeah, it's three like brief descriptions of Ayurvedic medicine and how it works. One is living in harmony with nature. And that was something I really dove head into first in 2014. Opposites balance, and consciousness is one of our best medicines. So yeah, just setting up an environment that helps remind me of those things every day. And yeah, just breathing in the fresh mountain air and the beauty of nature. It's so healing.
Thank you so much, Whitney Irvin, for coming on the Cornelia Stephanie Show and for sharing with us all these beautiful gifts that are all within us and that we can all access. We're going to take a break on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Dana Nygaard. Dana says that there are women driven by insecurity who settle for men who don't value them, only to suffer in silence in a loveless or downright abusive marriage. Dana is a renowned psychotherapist, relationship coach, author, and national speaker who teaches single Catholic women how to date intentionally, stop settling, and start choosing wisely. She gives them a confidence and tools to know when a man is worth it and when to walk away. Dana is here today to share a glimpse of the strategies that she used to heal from her past and find her husband, David, so you can begin transforming your love life. Welcome to the show today, Dana Nygaard.
Thanks, Cornelia. I'm super excited to be here today.
Well, I just, we were talking before we went live that, you said there's a lot of that going on. And it's like that, a lot of people don't see that that's what's going on, but that's going on. But then when I was reading your bio and you said you help Catholic women, it brought up the question for me that, when Catholic women are married, I don't know what the vows are, till death do us part, or whatever the religious thing is that, you have to settle and put up with things. Is that a part of it?
No, that's a great question. So when you marry in the Catholic Church, you marry for life, right? The Catholic Church says, though, however, you're not supposed to be abused. So if you're being abused, then you're not helping each other get to heaven. And God did not put you on this earth to be abused. So even if you have to separate from your spouse, the church is going to support that if you're in this terrible situation. And then annulments in the Catholic Church, or the decree of nullity to be, exact, what that says is there never was a marriage. Because if you didn't tell the priest, hey, he calls me vulgar names, he hits me, he slaps me. If the priest had known that, he probably would have said, we got to get some help before we make this happen. This is not going to happen as it is. And so, but only the church can decide if it's valid or an invalid marriage. So another conversation for another day, but that's a little bit that hits on what you were asking about.
Yeah, you came to tell us about a specific message that you had today.
Yeah, it was in my own mid-30s that I realized something was wrong with my life. I wound up being anxious a lot, but I hadn't grown up that way necessarily. I didn't think I had. Hypervigilant, depressed. I even looked really gaunt, which it's hard to imagine today because, I'm older, but I looked so gaunt, and it was from just not wanting to eat because I was so stressed out all the time. And there were even times where I would break into uncontrollable sobbing. And I would think to myself, like, what is happening? I almost wanted to look around, like, what is going on here? Because it wasn't my norm. But what really got me to start waking up to the situation I had allowed myself to get into in my life was I had a panic attack. I only had one in my life. And I thought, I know what this is tied to because I was a psychology teacher. So I knew just enough psychology to be dangerous, but I wasn't a therapist at that point. And that's when I really started to do a deep dive into what's going on in my life. And what I realized is it was from my childhood, the way I was attached, or really the way my parents had attached to me, that I then had carried that on into relationships with men. So I was mistreated as a child, so I chose men who mistreated me, used me, abused me, and all those things. And once I realized, wait, I'm the common denominator here. Okay, so I'm going to have to change something inside of me. And I took 90 days and I did a deep dive into healing with attachment theory. And I brought in my faith to it. And I went through this process. And by the time I was done, I no longer had an insecure attachment. I had a secure attachment.
Right. I think that you, from what you're talking about, from what I hear you saying, is that you release some of the old blocks, the old patterning, the old limitation,
Yes.
and then you brought your own consciousness, your own values, your own beliefs, your faith into that structure, into that cell, into that. And basically you said, no, this is my truth. This is the law. This is how it is now, not
That's
how.
right. You nailed it. That's it exactly. Because in the past, I would maybe a little part of me would pipe up like, hey, that's not, a nice thing that's happening, but it would always be shut down by someone else. If it was a parent saying, get that look off your face, that's not true. You're not remembering that correctly. So what do you do when you're told these things and there's gaslighting? You take a moment and you look inward and you think, wait, did I dream it? Did it not happen that way? And I finally realized one day, I'm not crazy. I'm around a bunch of people who have a lot of narcissistic traits and who are telling me something's wrong with me. But the thing that's wrong with me is I've allowed those people into my inner circle, and they're the people hurting me. So something is wrong here. And that healing allowed me to then start inviting in healthy people. And that's why I have a long-term, happy, healthy, holy relationship with my husband, David.
Yeah, that's beautiful. When I think about, that our mother's generation, right? And how they talk to each other, how they talk to us. The fact that, my mother could give me one look, just that look, or, that look on your face, take that look off your face. Just those type of words.
Yeah.
That was during that time period when, when we were still allowing that type of behavior. That's why you're doing the work that you're doing, helping women build up a healthy self-esteem, to want more for themselves, to not put up with verbal abuse, to not put up with mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, no abuse.
No abuse. That's right. Because it's so sad to me how many times women will tell me, well, he does this and that. And it'll be nice things like open car doors, bring her flowers. Okay, beautiful. And then in the next moment, they'll say, but he screamed at me the other day for 20 minutes. I couldn't help it. There's a wreck on the highway. I was late. I could not do a thing about it. I'm never late. And he screamed at me and then he called me a blankety blank. Oh, so then when I point out to them, okay, those last two things, that technically falls under emotional abuse. How are you, settling in with that? Like, how does that resonate with you? Do you realize that's what's going on? And it's almost like these women who don't even know each other. It's like they've all gone out and gotten the same playbook, and they'll say back to me, and I wait for it. I don't show it on my face, but I think, here we go. And it's almost like a countdown. It's about to come. And they'll say, I feel terrible. I feel awful. I have thrown him under the bus because he's really a good guy. So I call that the good guy fallacy, because it's a psychological term called confirmation bias. So it's like, here's a box. This is what a good guy does. Check. He did those things. So it doesn't matter that there are bad behaviors. No, to me, that box says he's a good guy. So when I take them through the process and act like I have imaginary Post-it notes, and I'll say, okay, where do I put these healthy or unhealthy behaviors? Bring flowers, healthy, so on. Where do I put these? He screamed at you. He called you names. They just stare at me and blink. They know where they go. But if I tell them, I'm going to wag my finger at you and you need to break up with him, that doesn't work. They have to leave my office, feel a little bit undone, like, oh, that wasn't so picture perfect. I thought I was going to go brag about this great guy and now look at things, because they have to wrestle with themselves to figure out, yeah, those two things do not match up.
It's almost like they have to see it for themselves. I mean, like, really, like, kind of like, they need to be done.
Yes, light bulb moment. They need it.
They need to be done, because then when they can be done, then they can take action, or then they're willing to do something about it. But prior to that happening, I think the work you're doing is wonderful. I want to let the audience know how they can find you on social media.
So thank you for that. So I have a limited series podcast. It only has 3 episodes, called Clarity Please. So if you go to clarityplease.com, you can sign up and I can set it up so you can receive those. There's a beautiful workbook that goes along with them to help these women start to unfold and uncover, why am I settling? Or why do I keep attracting the wrong guy for me? Or why do I keep attracting absolute Mr. Wrong, like he's not a nice guy? And so if you're tired of attracting the wrong men and want to turn that around, go to clarityplease.com and I have free resources for you.
Clarityplease.com. That's so easy.
Thank you.
I mean, who doesn't want clarity, please?
Right? We all need it.
Yeah, every day, clarity, please, every day. I think that's a wonderful name and brand.
Thank you.
It's good. It's good. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And so what do you want to leave the audience with today?
All right, is to evaluate where you've been romantically. I don't care if it was a boy that you liked when you were in the 4th grade and he was your little boyfriend, you had a crush on him, sort of thing. But to look back at your history, and if they go to Clarity Please, I give them a tool to do that, so that you can see what patterns are there. Because as you said earlier, until you get through that past thing and let go of it, you can't find something better. And God will have something better for you, but not if you hold on to the other stuff, because God's like, what am I supposed to do? You're holding on to that. So you have to be able to release it and get healing. And there's a great tool in there that the women can use.
Dana Nygaard, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you, audience, for listening and tuning into the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We'll see you all next week, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Cornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Cornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Cornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at corneliastephanie.com.